What could possibly go wrong? Well, first off, I could have the wrong album artwork, but if you look at what we're talking about today, it's not really that far off.
True North Reviews, True North Reviews, True North Reviews.
Hey there, welcome to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the new Dominic Fike record, What Could Possibly Go Wrong. This is the debut album from the American singer and rapper Dominic Fike. Dominic is young and new to the music industry, but you might have heard of him before. He has been featured on a couple of Kevin Abstract songs on Arizona Baby last year, Kevin being a part of Brockhampton, who Dominic actually shouts out on one of his new songs on his album right here. Now, Dominic being grateful for Brockhampton's support over the years, he is a bit of an under-the-wing type artist who might catch a big break sooner rather than later. I mean, he's already kind of done that with his song 3 Nights, and he's well on his way to gaining a mainstream audience and their attention with that too, as he contributed to Halsey's LP this year with what I would say is one of the more lackluster interludes in my opinion, but he's still there giving that alternative singer-songwriter vibe. Now, personally, my biggest concern when it comes to Dominic's music is, on first listen, of course, depending on the song, you'll immediately be reminded of Rex Orange County and some of his indie bedroom pop qualities. That was easily the case on the lead single for this project, Chicken Tenders, as the Rex Orange County influence is uncanny. To make matters worse, though, is the singing in the chorus that just leaves a lot to be desired. I kind of picked up on that with the interlude for Halsey too. Dominic loves to use this almost pitch shifted kind of voice. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is, but there's some kind of effect on his voice that really just doesn't sit well with me compared to his regular singing. So yeah, Chicken Tenders, not a good choice as a single in my opinion. Too spotty, like literally the stop and starts to the instrumental, the lyrics as well, kind of being silly and goofy, just not what I was expecting before hearing this album in full. Now, despite a disappointing lead, I will admit there was a flicker of hope for this album after hearing Politics and Violence. This was another pre-released single. However, much better than Chicken Tenders, this song to me is like Dominic truly distinguishing himself, pulling away from that Rex Orange County aesthetic, maybe still sounding a little like him, but thankfully adding a new layer, some original identity too, maybe with that rapping in the second leg of the track. Really love that part. The song overall, though, I do enjoy. So with that, I already established a bit of a feeling of hope and positive reaction that I was hoping to get from this record, but in addition, with the number of times I listened to the songs, the more I was delighted to see that I had this sense of wonder and mystery, both stylistically and sonically. The opening track almost misleads the listener for what is in store for the rest of the album, and I think that's where I was getting that sense of wonder. Come Here is the title of that track. It's just got this punchy, low-end kind of production to it. It's almost a pump-up song in a way, with the rest of the album never quite matching that same level of raw energy. For the song, though, I really just love the drums and the distortion to the guitar. It is a pretty short composition at that, but still a highlight, a great way to reel you in. Elsewhere, other tracks that had me intrigued include Double Negative, Skeleton Milkshake, which I was most shocked by the bridge that sounds like something Outkast would write. I mean, still catchy. Good Game is another highlight, another favorite of mine, and it is again kind of shocking, not in the way of influence, but with the lo-fi vocals. The vocals really just sounding like they were recorded using an iPhone. Regardless, the drums and guitar almost have like this old school kind of retro R&B vibe to them, and I think they complement Dominic's sleepy, almost apathetic tone that he has on this track. And if there is one more song I want to underline, it is Why, and you might be wondering why, but it's because of the unique chord progression on this track. Like, I know that chord progressions are finite and it's hard to be creative with them, but Dominic, he catches me off guard in a pleasantly rewarding, almost kind of holistic type of an experience that I get with this, that I just immerse myself while listening. Now, when it comes to the lyrics on this album, they're fine. They're not amazing. For the most part, you could probably forget about them. Maybe a few hiccups along the way, of course, some silly and corny lines, as I touched on earlier. But the most serious of the lyrics, they show up on the cut Cancel Me, which, as you probably could guess, it tackles cancel culture. And while I definitely appreciate the sentiment, it's just a little too on the nose for my liking. It feels like we're being spoon-fed all the answers as to why cancel culture can be bad. Like, we can all agree and find some common ground there, hopefully. In this song, it really just comes across in the most rigid and forceful way, not leaving much to the imagination, and it's kind of said with a cold demeanor. That being said, parts of the chorus vocal delivery on Cancel Me remind me of newer Mac Miller, decent sonically. It's just a lyrically ambitious tune that falls flat, in my opinion. Moving on to another key part of this album, though, it's Dominic's tendency to write songs that almost have two parts to them. For example, What's for Dinner and Joe Blazey. Let's start with What's for Dinner, and I would love to know the answer to that question all the time, but with this song, I prefer the soothing and ruminating outro with the gorgeous guitar playing. That compared to the first half of the song that has really aggravating vocals. And then with Joe Blazey, on the other hand, it's another one of those songs that plays like an interlude. It's just that short. However, I would argue this is the most experimental that the album gets. Kind of reminds me of James Blake. Then again, the singing on the front half of the track is disgusting, and I would have to compare it to like AJR and that level of effects and just sheer annoyance. And as much as that is sad for me to draw that comparison, it might also explain the offensively poor melody that is written on Superstar Shit. This song is almost unbearable, as we just have random switches to falsettos. Now, with that said, that might lead into the other main issue I take with this record. If it's not the singing and the melodies that are poor, it is the poor choices that are made behind the scenes with the production. And with production mishaps, miscues, missteps, it can range from like some of the smaller issues I take with like just mixing in general, and how a song like Whirly is really loud compared to the previous track. But then we get into the bigger mistakes that are kind of just inexcusable, like on Superstar Shit. I'm going to talk about that song again. It just has this muffled quality that really just dampens everything, kind of sucks the life out of anything. Overall, coming into this album, the question that was always on my mind was, is there enough to distinguish an artist here? Is there enough to have this unique aesthetic for Dominic Fike? And I would answer that yes, to an extent, as there is some rap, there is some rock, different instrumentation as well with the distorted guitar, to make you feel like that Rex Orange County comparison that I made way back at the beginning of the video. Yeah, that's kind of unfair. However, where the styles diverge, it's the production that is the next biggest hump to get over. If it's not the vocal effects, it might be the EQ, the compression, those kinds of things. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good ideas that pop up every now and then, but this album unfortunately sounds more like a starting point. Like, the promise is there, and I feel like it merits some praise for its creativity and beautiful outro to songs, but I feel like we have to wade through some of the briefer and sometimes unnecessary filler. In other words, what could possibly go wrong is a good sign to show what's to come for an up-and-coming artist, but by no means is a flawless project. In order to improve next time, I would say the production really needs to step it up and just maybe have a bit more consistent of a flow to the track list as well, instead of having these ideas just kind of scatter and sit with compositions that are usually only around 2 minutes anyways. So that's about all I have for this review, and with all that being said, I'm feeling a strong 5 to maybe a light 6 out of 10 if I'm feeling generous. But that's the review for Dominic Fike. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of this music. Agree or disagree, I'm here to engage with you guys. If you'd like to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, I'd appreciate that. As always, thanks for watching, and have a rockin' day.